Hi everyone, welcome to our wrap-up edition of Destination Dallas. I'm Brian Sandler with former Syracuse player Howard Trish. Obviously the Orange falling well short of Dallas, going down to Dayton in the third round last night. Let's take another look at the ending because it is what everyone's talking about. Now with 14 seconds left, SU trailed Dayton by just a point. Defense lays a great trap on Jordan Silbert. He steps out of bounds, giving the ball back to Syracuse. They inbound to Tyler Ennis. At this point, SU's only success had been driving to the basket, but he pulls up for a jump shot. It's way off. Jim Boeheim said it was a bad decision by the freshman. You'll see really had no chance for this one, but he would get another chance. After fouling Dayton, they made one free throw, going to miss the second, so Ennis bringing it up with 6.5 seconds to go. He pulls up for three and the win, but unlike his buzzer beater at Pitt, this one clangs off the rim and the Flyers fly onto the Sweet 16 for the first time in 30 years, 55-53 the final. As for Ennis' decision to pull up again instead of driving for the tie, he said he just didn't have enough time to get to the rim. Boeheim agreed. It was the right guy in the right situation making the right choice, just didn't get the right result.
You know, it would have been a kind of a miracle season if something like that were to happen. But I mean, you know, realistically, you're not going to hit every game winner unless you're, Kobe Bryant.
It's just the start of a bad night for the Ennis family, by the way. His older brother Dylan plays for Nova. They lost right after the Orange. And while the end of that game, a game like that always gets the most attention, it was merely a microcosm of the rest of the game. Syracuse shooting 1 of 19 outside the paint, 0 for 10 on three-pointers. The last time they failed to make a three, the 1995 Big East Tournament. They were 0 for 6 in that game. That ends a streak of 665 games with at least 1 3, but it's not like this was an aberration. SU was terrible just about all season behind the arc. There was one game where they only made 1, a few others where they only made 2, so they had flirted with an 0 for. One of the problems, Trevor Cooney's the only legitimate threat, and he was very inconsistent. So Howard, what did you see throughout the year, not just with Cooney, but the other guys, and how can they fix this going forward?
Well, just talking about Cooney first of all, you remember he was battling with confidence. And once they do that, we'll start to see those numbers go up.
Maybe B.J. Johnson can be that guy next year. Looking at the bigger picture now, the season clearly breaks down into 2 parts, the 25-0 start and the 3-6 finish. The highs, very high. There was Ennis' buzzer beater at Pitt, followed by another last-second win against NC State. The lows, though, were very low, losing at home to Boston College and Georgia Tech, and then going one and done in the ACC tournament, losing in the first week of the NCAA tournament. Obviously, the postseason is weighted, so that kind of puts a blemish on the good stuff that happened in the regular season. For the players, it was all a big learning experience.
I think it's kind of shows how college basketball is.
It's tough, really, to compare the beginning to now, to be honest.
All right, now after the loss, I saw a lot of negativity on social media, which is kind of customary. But, here's the deal. This team started the season having to replace 3 starters. You had Michael Carter-Williams, probably the NBA Rookie of the Year. James Sutherland got a taste of the NBA. Brandon Trish, a 4-year starter. He's playing professionally. They had a new starting front court, or backcourt, rather, with a true freshman, a redshirt sophomore. You had your starting center go down midway through the year.
Absolutely.
You had backup center by Keita. You had Jeremy Grant go down with injuries at various points. They were in a new conference, playing pretty much all new opponents. And yet they finished 28-6. So yeah, a very disappointing end. I'm not trying to wash that away, but overall, I think you could argue that in some ways this team kind of overachieved a little, despite high preseason expectations.
Brian, I think that's what you're kind of hitting at, and it's so true. We see a lot of inconsistency from their scoring standpoint.
And as Ennis said last night, the problem was when there was an off night for Syracuse, it was the whole team. It wasn't just one guy.
It's contagious.
Yeah. Time for a break here. Coming up, we'll look ahead to next season, and we're also going to hear from the 2 departing seniors on their time at Syracuse. Check in with CJ Fair and Bai Musakeda after this. Back here on our final installment of Destination Dallas. We've done plenty of looking back on Syracuse's season, and now let's look ahead. We start with the 2 players we know will definitely not be back here next season, senior CJ Fair and Bai Musakeda. Fair led the Orange with 16.5 points per game this season. He was second in rebounding, just behind Jeremy Grant with 6.4. He ends his career with 1,660 points, good for 15th all-time at SU, and 818 boards. Keita, on the other hand, didn't accumulate a whole lot of stats, but he was a valuable presence in the locker room and a valuable boost off the bench, playing in 142 of a possible 146 games. Here's what both guys had to say about their careers.
Coming here, you don't know what to really expect with college, and I just felt welcome here.
So you're losing your leading starter and your leading bench guy here. Big holes to fill.
Oh, definitely. They venture out into the next phase of their life.
Now we know 2 guys are leaving. The question is, will 2 other guys be joining them? Freshman guard Tyler Ennis, sophomore forward Jeremy Grant, both projected as first-round picks if they choose to go that way at this point. Ennis almost definitely a lottery pick, possibly top 10. Grant, on the other hand, is on the fringe of the lottery, so perhaps that'll convince him to stay in school for an extra year like Fair did. They have until April 27th to put their names in the draft pool. If they don't hire agents, they can withdraw by June 16th. Obviously, neither player was ready to say what he's thinking last night as the season had just ended. But Howard, what do you see them doing? What should they do? And keep in mind, it's very easy for us to judge when we're not the ones having millions of dollars presented to us.
Most definitely, but I think both of them, first of all, and probably my own personal decision on this is that they both should stay.
And you wonder if maybe Fair's decision last year to come back for another year when he could have left, maybe that has an impact.
When dollars start talking, everything else, start walking as well.
They don't just talk, they shout. All right, while the Syracuse men are finished, the SU women are still alive in their NCAA tournament, but staying alive won't just be a challenge because of their next opponent, also because the Orange will be without their leading scorer. Alicia Panisi has her preview in Kentucky. So best of luck to the women's team tomorrow night. And that's going to do it for Destination Dallas. Not quite as long as Journey to Georgia last year, but hopefully next year the Orange can make it back to the Final Four in Indianapolis. For Howard, Trish, and everyone who has made the show possible here at Time Warner Cable News, I'm Brian Sandler saying thanks for watching and, as always, go Orange.